The war within starts tomorrow. No, it doesn't, but it feels like it when it comes to choosing a spec to main or alt, and melee DPS doesn't make it any easier. There are numerous ways to choose a spec to play, and one of those is to not ask other people. But here we are, and after playing all melee on beta with all hero talents and tier sets, I have some suggestions. Let's start with the meta, since this is the most obvious one and what likely most people are interested in finding out. I would like to say that if you are interested in playing a meta spec, 1, you don't get to watch videos or listen to opinions weeks or months before the season starts. 2, the tuning changes so much that your choice will likely be wrong. And 3, to guarantee you play a meta spec, it's much safer to have close to all melee leveled and moderately geared, so that when the season starts and the sims are done and people know which spec slaps, you can just hop on it ASAP. That's what playing a meta spec means. But if you do decide to watch content online, and even ours in that sense, you can also check our Patreon for even more stuff that you don't actually get to see on our channel. We do bloopers and a lot of content, early access for Patreons, as well as customizable rewards to showcase our gratitude for those supporting this video and many more like it. Check the link down in the description to go to patreon.com/Marcelian&Online, see if there's anything there that you like, and if you would decide to support us, we would be eternally grateful. With that being said, there are some safe specs you can lock out for that, which will perform well enough where they will either become meta or be the next best thing. With the risk of eating my words, Red Paladin is what I would recommend you play as a safe spec that will do a lot of damage, be taken into groups, and generally have the tools to deal with the content. Ever since its rework, Red has been consistently at the top of the meta when it comes to melee DPS performance. On the beta, at the moment, it's doing incredible damage, although not as high as certain specs where you would expect it to be nerfed, hence why I believe it will be a safe pick. Nobody can promise you any spec will be the best with the way buffs and nerfs are rolled out, but Retribution Paladin is so good of a pick as any, if not better, that you're not gonna go wrong with it. On top of that, the spec itself is very easy to play and really fun. Not everyone might be interested in a simpler spec to engage with, however, Red does simple in a neat and engaging way that makes it very hard not to love. The rotation is straightforward and fluid, where you jump from burst window to burst window. If you decide to go the Templar route, you will have an extra chunk of power added to your Wake of Ashes in the form of Hammer of Light. The hero talents bring about a few more goodies to the table, but a particular one is the capstone, where you will build up towards a free Hammer of Light as you keep fighting. And Hammer of Light is like a little Wake of Ashes, which with the Radiant Glory talent turns into an Avenging Wrath enabler. This means that you will have wings every time you use Wake of Ashes, for a shorter duration of course, but makes your cooldown alignment be something you never have to worry about, and your burst windows consistent. Herald of the Sun packs a bigger punch at the moment on beta, but that can always change based on tuning. The cool part of this playstyle, however, is that it's tied to Wake of Ashes also, where you put up little dots or hots on targets that actually heal or damage for quite a bit. The capstone is even more interesting. This one makes it so during your wings you get linked to your downlights, the little hots and dots, and damage or heal targets caught in the beams. Popping wings puts 4 downlights up, and if you pair this up with Wake of Ashes, you can get 2 more. The gameplay possibilities makes it an interesting playstyle, and all of this assuming you are not playing with Radiant Glory, which if you are, you just get all of these effects into your Wake of Ashes way more often. This alone adds some level of potential depth in the spec that will keep you engaged, and the choices in playstyles will keep it fresh. I'm telling you, meme it or not, Red Paladin is not a spec you should overlook. There's a reason why there is so much pink all over the place. If you're looking for something fun, which can be said about any of the spec in this video, really, I do have a more personal recommendation. Yes, it is personal, it is subjective, but it will also be argued. Windwalker is probably the best melee DPS rework that we have received so far. There is a chance Survival can knock it off the throne, and that was another contender here, but Survival seems to be struggling with an identity crisis for some of its spells, so not sure how that will play out by the time the expansion releases. As with Red, Windwalker is a safer pick in terms of fun. In terms of damage, I do have to admit it has been a hit or miss in the last few few seasons. It might still be anyone's guess as to how much potential the spec has, but one thing is clear, the spec is giga fun, and sometimes that's all that matters. The rework is a mega banger and almost pure perfection if not for the still remaining Feline Stomp. I have to say, I never really liked this ability, but they have made it better and more interesting in the War Within, so if not for the lack of power it currently has, if you are a fan of the Stomp, you will love it more. If not, then rest assured, because boy oh boy do you ever get some cool new toys to play with. Remember that time in the early 2000s when you watched your first movie with tuned cars and thought, that's just a shitty sedan my uncle drives? Oh, damn, it can do that? And now you know what the new Whirling Dragon Punch feels like. The ability has had a love-hate relationship with the players, with its animation locking you in place, risking getting hit by the fire, but also looking cool as Paul Walker giving his car keys to Vin Diesel at the end of the movie. With the new capstone, you can opt to have Whirling Dragon Punch proc an instant dance of Chi-Ji. You know how shitty the RNG can feel like and how good it is when you get the proc in AoE. Now that is predictable. It opens up so much burst AoE potential considering Windwalker is really good at setting up some dope DPS moment. But hey, you can get the other capstone, which gives you 4 extra stacks of Teachings of the Monastery, raising the total cap to 8 as well. Now, I don't know how many anime kicks Goku can do in a Dragon Ball episode, but it sure as hell doesn't feel like more than what you will be doing. Let me paint you a picture. The Shadowboxing Threads talent lets your Blackout kick hit 2 additional targets. The Teachings of the Monastery makes it so each stack triggers an extra kick. Now, with Whirling Dragon Punch raising the cap to 8 stacks of Teachings and also giving you 4 by using it, you get to do 8 times 3 because it hits 2 more targets and get to do 24 kicks. 24 kicks in one global. Now, I'm not sure what your definition of cool is, but I grew up with too many Kung Fu movies to know that this here gameplay is better than touching grass. I'm kidding, I have neither the possibility or ability to feel the texture of grass. And wait a second, I need to stop you right there because you are also likely on the verge of making a terrible mistake. You are surely thinking that what I just told you Windwalker can do is for sure the coolest thing, right? Shit. Thank God I stopped you right there, because the coolest thing you can do is turning into Emperor Palpatine. Last Emperor's Capacitor has been a cool yet underperforming talent for a few years now, with it being a legendary in Shadowlands that was not really played that much. Well, not only has it been buffed, but received a baller capstone, Power of the Thunder King. You might have looked at Capacitor and thought, why do I want to channel a long spell as a melee? Well, now it's 50% faster, but I want to do more damage than hit just one target. Well, now it can hit up to a total of 5 targets, and that's just the cool shit. The button bloat has been addressed, the build diversity is there, the damage is definitely there, and the hero talents are not bad. Listen, I'm with you in thinking that Shadow Pan being passive and forgettable is a sin that Terran Zoo has yet to punish. I still hope that it will get some proper facelifts in terms of animations, effects and power, but Conduit of the Celestials has converted me to a believer. Getting a cool new ability is nice, although it is a channel, but the synergies with Zuen and actually playing a Zuen-centric playstyle feels so rewarding and always giving you the sense that you are playing towards a goal, a payoff moment, whether it is to proc Zuen, cast more Zuens, or transfer the power, pun intended, into some big fists of fury. The playstyle is just a blast from the start to finish. So whether you want to become a real-life Jackie Chan or the meanest Sith Lord ever, Windwalker is your pick. And for those who want to do more solo stuff, don't really care about groups, and want to be self-sufficient, the choice would have to either go to Unholy Death Knight or Havoc Demon Hunter. And this one is hard to make, since Unholy is clearly the superior design spec in terms of its own talent, but also the hero ones. It does, however, come with downsides that suck for solo content, which Havoc does not have. Because of that, I do have to give it to Havoc. Whether you like or hate the spec, objectively speaking, there is no better melee or maybe even spec entirely that can handle solo content as well as Havoc does. And listen, just because you end up playing Havoc doesn't mean you can't raid or do Mythic Plus. Havoc will always be really good at both of those things, and it combines a lot lot of the things the previous specs bring as well. It has unique access to utility that will always be an asset to your group. The reason it wins out over Death Knight for solo type content is actually multi-layered. The mobility is unparalleled, save for maybe Windwalker, although Havoc is still more mobile in the end. This is important when you farm open world content, quests, do rares, world bosses and things. I cannot tell you how many times I died on non-Havocs because I got dazed, dismounted or crowd controlled. Glide is an obvious and self-explanatory tool that need not be mentioned anymore. The sustain is obviously great, which is something DK has as well, but yours does not come at the cost of damage. And sure, being the king of solo content is great, but is it worth just for that? Of course not. Despite its current tuning changes, Fell-Scarred hero talents have been the most fun I have had on Havoc since likely Legion. Your meta empowers so many spells that hit harder and make you want to match them with damage windows like Momentum or Inertia. The gameplay implications are huge with how you will end up syncing all these abilities up for some giga damage. Not to mention, you just consistently explode with damage when you do so. The theme is cool, the playstyle is cool, the damage just needs a little bit to catch up. A more controversial take is Eldrazi being also kinda cool on paper. It has some issues with you having to chase soul fragments for your glaive proc, but in terms of damage, it outperforms Fell-Scarred at the moment, and I have come around to respect and enjoy throwing my glaive to fuck shit up. It's not the best hero talent tree here, but it will be a good break from the mold whenever I want a fresh change of pace. This whole thing has been a subjective video, of course, but I have put a lot of thought into these specs since the mark they left on me after playing them was real, and for most of them was really surprising. And hey, if you're looking for your melee spec to just be easy, we already have a tier list out going through all of them, hero talents and tier sets, and ranking them from easiest to hardest right here.